You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
Hello and welcome to the Tracy Sandler Show, brought to you by FIVO. I am your host, Tracy Sandler, and I really could not be more excited to welcome back the clever, funny, fantastical, and amazing Kyle Madson, co-host of the Candlestick Chronicles and of 95.7 The Game.
Yeah, I love the intro. It's great for my ego. I think you could have been a little more excited, but that's okay. I don't blame you.
No, I couldn't be more excited. Was that not conveyed?
Yeah, no, I think you could.
You think I could be more excited?
Yeah, I feel like you toned it down a little, and that's okay.
Well, I don't want the viewers to feel like I'm playing favorites on guests and listeners, not just viewers, listeners. Probably most of you are listening and not viewing, actually. But I just don't want it to feel like I'm playing favorites. I don't want Chris Biederman to get upset and be like, whoa, that was a lot of excitement.
He gets it.
That's true. I mean, he gets to host a pod with you multiple times a week. So he's obviously always very excited.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he frequently tells me I'm his favorite podcast partner that he's ever had.
Oh, wow. That's so nice.
It's really nice.
That's really nice. Kind. Actually, as long as we're talking about Chris Biederman and the Candlestick Chronicles, why don't you tell our listeners and viewers about your very fun, exciting news coming up in September?
Oh, geez. Yeah, we're doing another partnership with Cooperage Brewing in Santa Rosa. So we have our Candlestick Chronicles beer. It will be coming out again. It was a hazy IPA last year. I think it's going to be the same again this year. It's really good. I'm not even a fan of hazies that much, but I really like it. I was afraid I was going to have to try and talk up a beer I didn't like. That didn't end up happening, which is great. Cooperage makes good beer. September 16th out at Cooperage, we're going to come out and we have a panel of 49ers, writers, bloggers, etc. Out there. And we just do a podcast. We don't record it. So things are spicier than they might if we were recording. Got some fun stories from all the writers. We get good takes. Tracy, you were in on the Cardinals last year.
I was. I don't know what I'm
right until the very end.
I don't know what hot take I'm going to come up with this year, but I'll come up with something.
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear it. It's the thing I'm looking forward to most. Couldn't be more excited.
Good. And I think you could be a little more excited.
So come out September 16th, Cooperage Brewing in Santa Rosa. It's for a good cause. We partnered last year with the Redwood Community Food Bank is not right.
It was something in that realm.
We partnered with the Redwood Empire Food Bank, and they come out and take donations. They're out there hanging out, and it's just a really, really fun night talking football. So come out.
I will be there with bells on. As you know, you guys should come. It's super fun. But that's enough self-promotion for Kyle for the moment. But we'll let you do more later.
I hope so.
I hope so too. But not before. We're going to get into it now. No before. We're jumping right in. We have some 49ers. We have some 49ers stuff to talk about. But as you know, they had a preseason game this past weekend. They had joint practices with the Vikings. They're 2-0 in the preseason, which means absolutely nothing at all, but they are 2-0 in the preseason. They have a game coming up on Thursday against the Houston Texans in Houston, and then over 2 weeks until the season starts. But before we get there, I want to talk about something very, very important. And that is House of Dragon, the Game of Thrones spinoff. Yeah. Because it premiered Sunday night. I wasn't sure what to think. I wasn't sure I was going to like it. So I had this concern, and I would love to know your thoughts on this. I was like, am I going to like this? It's none of the characters that we know. I don't want to have to learn new people and new names. But I have to say, I liked it a lot. I thought they did a really nice kind of ode to what we know, but not overdoing it. I don't know anyone's name right now. Not a single soul. But I was super into it, and I thought it'd be fun for us to discuss it. So
yeah. So I'm not a Game of Thrones fanatic. I watched the show. I really liked the show. I was a sit down and watch it, stream it at 6 p.m. person. But I don't read the books.
Right.
I don't.
Same here.
I'm not that far into it. So this is all brand new to me.
Yeah.
So
me too.
I'm with you in that at first, because one of the things that it took me 4 tries to start watching Game of Thrones, because what they do in the first episode is just shove all these characters at you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, here's every family. Here's every important person in this family. They're going to be traveling, keep track.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated it, but I was more ready for that this time. And there's fewer families going on here.
Yes, but it is all the families we know.
Yes, like Targaryen's not like a new, like I get what the Targaryen thing is.
Yes.
So that's not like crazy. It's not the way it was the first time I watched Thrones. So no, it was really fun. It was just nice to be back in that universe again and hanging out there. I had forgotten how dark Game of Thrones gets.
Yeah,
and it just off the bat just gut punch and some avert the eyes moments, and I really, really enjoyed it. I wasn't sure if I would ever go back to Game of Thrones content after the way the show ended. I wasn't like super amped to be like, yeah, I'm in. But then sure enough, 6 p.m. yesterday, me and my wife, we were right back in. We're just like, all right, we're watching. Both liked it. Can't wait for next week. I'm dialed.
And it's 172 years before Daenerys Targaryen. So we got like a lot of ground to cover. But what I also really like that all the Targaryens have very, like their hair is all, it's like all Daenerys hair. And it almost is like them, just for those of you watching at home, these are the Targaryens, you can tell by their hair. This is Adorn, you can tell by his hair.
Right.
This is Baratheon, you can tell by his hair. That was kind of a thing they did, but I liked it. What is the name of our main character, our heroine, so to speak, our future queen?
Rhaenyra Targaryen.
Yes. See, I had the Targaryen part, Rhaenyra. I told you. It takes me with Game of Thrones. In life, I'm really good with names. If I meet you in life, I remember your name pretty much immediately. If I meet you in King's Landing, it's going to take me some time.
Yeah. I'm really bad. I'm really, really bad at names. In fact, I have the IMDb up right here because I knew you were going to ask questions about names and I was not going to remember. But I saw some people on the internet complaining that like, oh, you can tell it's a lot like Daenerys.
Well, yeah.
And just kind of her. And it's like, right. That's the point. Like,
that is the point.
I like it more that it's so like, oh my gosh, like just the way she carries herself and the way she has to kind of fight this, system. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
I did too. I like that she's like Daenerys because they are related. I mean, that's
right.
The point. We're seeing this.
That's the
we're
point.
seeing this bloodline, and we're seeing these things pass through. It's like if I were to go to 172 years ago to my great whatever grandma, like I would think it'd be cool if there was stuff. I don't know how many greats it would be, but I feel like it's a lot.
Several
greats. I would love to see like what did we have in common?
Yeah, there's a quick sidebar. There's a movie called Horse Girl where the main character is or thinks she is a clone of her grandmother.
Oh, interesting.
It's a fascinating movie. Don't watch it under the influence. Bringing it back to Thrones. Daemon Targaryen.
Horse Girl. Okay.
Yes.
Daemon Targaryen. He's a better version of Daenerys's brother.
You can tell that there is about to be like an all-time TV villain performance put together.
Yes.
And I can't wait. I'm really excited. He is terrifying.
Terrifying. And like I said, I thought of Daenerys' brother, who was just like a total nincompoop, which I don't know if they had that word during Game of Thrones times, but I'm going to throw it out there. That guy was just like the worst and kind of an idiot. And you could kind of see how generation after generation, that guy just got worse and worse and worse. But the Daemon was like, ooh, he is going to be, I'm really excited to see where this goes. And of course, he's very close to his niece, Rhaenyra. Is that her name?
Mm-hmm.
They're very close. So there's going to be a clash there. Someone's going to probably have to kill somebody else. It's going to be like, woo, I'm excited.
It's going to be really good. I'm very much looking forward to having something to do every Sunday that's not football.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But what's going to happen, Kyle? And now we're talking about something important. This show is going to run into football because football's starting soon. Then what happens?
It's fine. It's on streaming. You just pop it on once the football day is over.
That's true. That'll be how I wind down after working and writing.
Yeah, winding down by watching Game of Thrones content.
Be like, okay, now I can just chill.
Yeah, we'll relax and watch people get their heads chopped off. It'll be
there
great.
were all kinds of things being chopped off on that show.
Oh, my Lanta.
It was not. I have to say, this was one where I did have to kind of fast forward a little bit through some of it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I've been on like this. I've been watching a lot of like cooking shows and a lot of like Peaky Blinders. I'm finally catching up on that, a show I loved and then fell off of. So I'm catching up on that. I've almost finished that series. And then I'm doing a New Girl rewatch.
Oh, and very different vibe.
Right. Really, really different. So to get thrust back into this Game of Thrones universe where it's blood, it's gore, it's nudity, it was a lot to like recalibrate what I was expecting out of my TV.
That's totally fair.
Yeah.
And then I have a question. Are we getting another Game of Thrones spinoff that Jon Snow's on?
I don't know.
Okay. Well,
that's again, that's the depths that I don't.
Well, for those of you out there that know,
if it's not in a promotional tweet, I'm not seeing it.
If someone could retweet a promotional tweet and tag Kyle and I,
please.
Kyle, tell everybody your Twitter.
Kyle A. Madson. That's Madson with an O.
At 49ers Fangirl, if you could just tag us in that so we know what's up. I like Jon Snow. Totally into watching him every week, all the time. Totally down with that. So
Jon Snow or Kit Harington?
I mean, whatever.
Okay, fair enough. Right on.
Yes.
I dig it.
Absolutely.
He's gonna be a Marvel character. He's in what was he in? He was in Eternals.
See, I'm not a Marvel person.
Well, you should get there because you're gonna be in it if you're a Jon Snow person.
So maybe in answer to your previous question, it's Jon Snow and not Kit Harington. But maybe I'll get into Marvel. Maybe Kit Harington will be the thing that gets me into Marvel.
There you go. I love it.
Well, I guess we should talk some 49ers. Should we call this episode House of Shanahan?
Yeah, I like that.
I think we should.
The House of the Drag Route.
The House of the Drag Route. It really just rolls off the tongue-ish, but yeah, I like it.
This is all I'm thinking about for the rest of the show. I'll be like talking and listening, but this all that's clanging around in my head is 49ers Game of Thrones puns.
That's part of why I brought it up, because I know you well, and I know how your brain works. And I thought, you know what? If I bring this up, then we're going to have 49ers Game of Thrones puns coming on. And now that we're talking about it, I am thinking that we should try to like do the whole episode around it.
Okay. Doing this on the fly. Great.
We're totally doing this on the fly. So you guys listening at home, don't judge us. But I kind of like it. So is Rhaenyra Trey Lance, and was her father Jimmy Garoppolo? No, her father was Shanahan.
Rhaenyra, yeah.
Yeah, Shanahan is the dad. What's her dad's name? The king?
Viserys.
Yep. So Shanahan is Viserys, and Rhaenyra is Trey Lance, Rhaenyra. And that's what we're going to go with right now. And I'm so into the fact that we're doing this and on the fly. And whether or not it makes sense, I can't make any guarantees, but I think you're going to join us for the ride, guys.
And Damon is Jimmy G because he was going to be in line. And then Shanahan was like, nah, get out of here. You got to go, dog.
This is so
Get on your dragon and bounce.
By the way, incidentally, if Jimmy G gets on a dragon and bounces his way to like Cleveland or Seattle or LA, I'm all in for that content.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. I think I would at first be like, wow, they couldn't trade him. And then I would be like, holy smokes, there's a dragon.
Dragon
I think
at
it would
the
be
SAP Performance facility.
I still can't believe that, like, I mean, I can in the context of the offseason. But if you'd told me in like January that Nick Mullins would be traded before Jimmy Garoppolo in this offseason, I would not have believed you.
But if you had told me that in March of this offseason, then I would have believed you. I'm going to go with that.
Post-surgery, like, did we know Jimmy was having surgery?
Post-surgery, Russell Wilson going to the Broncos, who I'm
all right, then I would have
not naming. Yeah, then I would say at that point. And then like Baker Mayfield having like a hissy fit on social, like post like all of the things that went on, and Matt Ryan's moving around, like everybody's everything. I mean, Baker Mayfield obviously is not part of the 49ers, but I do feel like he's part of House of Dragon. So I think we should just let's put a pin in that and think about where we would drop him. The problem
and might need more episodes before we do this.
That's fine. The only issue I have with Jimmy G being Damon is that he's a little more Dorn than Targaryen. But for our purposes, yeah, he's a little Dornish looking. That's cool. For our purposes, I'm all in on it. So we've got Kyle Shanahan as Viserys, Trey Lance is Rhaenyra. Rhaenyra's, and I'm having a lot of trouble with her name. Just Rhaenyra. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to practice that. I'm going to write it on a chalkboard 27 times before next Sunday. And Jimmy G is Damon. Okay, I'm very into this, and I love it. So
it might be where it stops for now because
I think it's going to have to.
I don't have enough of a grasp on what the rest of the characters mean so far.
Nor do I, but I like where we're going, and I think this may be something that we're going to have to revisit throughout the season.
Was the baby Mac Jones?
Oh, that's sad.
Too soon?
Maybe too soon. I mean, but then was the mom Bill
172 years ago. What?
I said it was the mom Bill Belichick, but no, that doesn't really work. No. So the baby was, I guess, I don't know. Ugh.
Josh McDaniel.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps. And
no, it was Rich Scangarello.
Yes.
There it is.
Guys, we should just stop the pod right now because we have nailed this.
Dark.
It's so dark.
Oh my God.
Also said absolutely nothing about this team, but we
have.
I was
gonna say, I hope nobody's tapping in for 49ers content because
we throw in names and characters, but I think this is a good time. All right, we're gonna move into 49ers content now.
Hard transition.
Trenera, our good friend Trenera Lance.
Trenera,
whatever. Targaryen. Trey Lance had a rough practice Monday. I was on the Candlestick Chronicles the other day. We talked a little. Hell yeah, and it was great. It was awesome. We didn't talk about House of Dragon, so it wasn't like as great, but it was great. We did talk a lot more 49er stuff, but we talked a little bit about, rough practices and all of that. In light of today's practice, I still am not concerned. To me, I think we've talked about this before, that to me, this Trey Lance training camp preseason experience is kind of exactly what I thought it was going to be. But where do you fall on this discussion? Because people have I don't want to shock you, but people on Twitter have really strong opinions about it. And I know I said I didn't want to shock you, and I think I did, but I would love to know where you, Kyle A. Madson, falls on this tree.
I think I'm for the most part with you. It's about what I expected. There was part of me that thought there was a chance he was just going to kind of set the world on fire and just be incredible. And it was going to be this like light bulb moment where he came back and his accuracy was so much improved and he just looked like he was making all these crazy plays. And I know he was making some pretty incredible plays in camp, but there were a lot of not so good plays mixed in. And the thing that Shanahan said the other day that really stuck out to me was the steps back are becoming less frequent and less significant. And that's what I think, if you were coming into the offseason, if you were like, what's the goal for Trey Lance and the 49ers? It would be just to get better. Like, he's not going to be perfect by week 1, but can he be good enough that the offense is competent? Right. And if he continues improving at the rate that he did, I keep going back to week 5 last year versus week 17 last year and how much better he was between those two starts. It's like, man, if that's how much better he gets just with practice squad reps, how much better is he going to get with the whole offseason, all of OTAs, all of training camps, some preseason games, and then into the regular season? So by the bye week, he's really got his feet under him. And that's kind of the trajectory I've thought he would be on all year. And camp puts him, what we've seen in camp in the preseason and what you guys who are out there reporting on it have kind of noted is just that's kind of the trajectory he's on. Some good, some bad, but like it's trending the right way.
And I also think, and I don't want to make too much of this, but I also think he is going against one of the top defenses in the league. And he's not going to be going against one of the top defenses in the league every week. He certainly isn't going to be the first, 2 weeks of the season. Week 3, I'm not sure what to expect there. against the Broncos. Then you have the Rams. That'll be tough. And then, it's the Panthers, the Falcons. So the point is he's going to get better because he'll be going against weaker defenses. Confidence will be built, et cetera, in theory. But I do agree with you when you look at week 5 versus week 17. I mean, he really was a very different quarterback. But speaking of quarterbacks, and I think this is worth bringing up, and even if it's not worth bringing up, it's my podcast, so I get to bring it up. So it's really exciting. So I have my own show, so I can talk about Game of Thrones and things that I just want to talk about. But, when you watch the preseason game the other night, you watch Nate Sudfeld and Brock Purdy. And something that I actually think is kind of interesting is probably the biggest reason the 49ers moved on from Jimmy Garoppolo was his health and his inability to stay healthy and how seasons went downstream, et cetera, et cetera. All right. It's interesting because they're kind of in the same position all over again, because the whole thing last year was like, well, we have Jimmy, and if he gets hurt, at least we have Trey. If Trey gets hurt, it's the season's, I don't know, as good as this team is, and this is no disrespect to Nate Sudfeld and Brock Purdy, although it's probably going to sound a little disrespectful to both of them. If Trey Lance gets hurt, they're in really deep trouble. I was going to use a swear word, but I didn't.
That's the case with any team that loses their starting quarterback for a significant portion of the year is probably screwed.
That's true. It is true. It's totally true. I just think what's interesting to me is, and I don't even know that I have a point. I think it's just an observation, was that the whole idea was, I don't know, it's just kind of interesting. Like they're just going to be back in the same position they were in before. And I guess I bring it also because we saw Trey Lance last year was not exactly the picture of health in the little time that he played.
Well, right. And so ideally that won't be an issue, right? Like ideally. That's if they thought that he was going to be, if health was going to be a problem, I'm not sure they would obviously continue with this plan moving forward, but if they had, I don't think they're planning on needing Nate Sudfeld or needing a quality not backup. Like that's what
I hope not.
Yeah, right. Well, so I come at this from being in sports talk radio, where people call into our radio station and text our radio station, and they're like, keep Garoppolo because you need a good backup in case the starter gets hurt. And it's like, no, you don't.
No.
Jordan Love is the backup in Green Bay. Not Tyrod Taylor. Who's the backup is it Matt Barkley is the backup in Buffalo?
I think it is Matt Barkley.
With Josh Allen. Like the teams don't just have awesome backup quarterback waiting to go win games. Nick Foles is an outlier.
And I think the reason this comes up with the 49ers is because of the situation, is because of what they had last year and moving into this year. And that's what comes up with it. Like I said, I didn't really even know that I had a point. I just kind of, I just was watching and I was like, man, I hope that for the 49ers sake, Trey Lance stays healthy, or it is going to be a long season in Santa Clara. Again, no disrespect.
Yeah, no. And it just, you can tell, like Nate Sudfeld and Brock Purdy looked fine in backup action in the second preseason game. But they didn't look good. Like, it's not like, oh man, like they are lighting this.
They're no
second
Nick
and
Mullins.
third and fourth string defense up. Right. I mean, but who is?
But no
so, so it's like, yeah, they looked fine for that situation, but they're not, it's not like there's this, are they going to keep Brock Purdy over Nate Sudfeld? Like, probably not.
No, I don't think so.
Like, are they going to keep 3 quarterbacks because they really like Brock Purdy? Like, maybe, but it's not like they think one of those guys is better equipped to go 9-1 if they have to start 10 games without Lance,
No offense to either of those guys.
No, they're just not starting NFL quarterbacks, and that's fine. Like, they will both. I think Nate Sudfeld's going to be in the league a long time as a backup quarterback. Brock Purdy may be the same thing. And that is a valuable thing. They're going to make millions of dollars doing that. Shout out to Chase Daniel. But they're not starting
Sage
quarterbacks.
Rosenfeld, who was on this podcast. Sage Rosenfeld's another guy.
Rosenfeld
Nick Mullins is going to be that guy.
He is. He's very much like Nick Mullins is that guy. Yeah, he's just going to stick around. Because if you have to start him for a game or two, like, okay, yeah, you might be able to figure it out. But you start getting beyond that, you're host. So I don't think they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks.
I don't think they can. I don't think they can. First of all, they need to. You're going to ask my thought. I'm sorry. Please go ahead and ask.
No, it's okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Hey, Tracy, do you think they'll keep 3 quarterbacks?
I don't. And I'll tell you why. Because they're going to need to keep 27 running backs. because they need their running back. You remember in It's a Wonderful Life, every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Well, in the 49ers world, every time a game starts, a running back gets injured. So they just need to, I know it's a horrible thing to say, but they do go through running. I mean, you have to admit, they go through running backs
they do.
I'm not going to say an alarming rate, but at any given time on this team, a running back is hurt. And
that's a thing. Like, it's a thing. I listen to fantasy football podcasts and they're like, don't touch Niner running backs because who the hell knows? And that's true. It's not just, and that's a national angle on that. So
yeah, no, it's a thing. So I don't think they can, because they're not going to keep 27 running backs. Obviously, I was using hyperbole. I don't want anybody tweeting at me and being like, "Oh, 49ers fan girl, they're not 27 running backs."
They don't have 27
running backs. Do they sign more guys? This was like
converting all the receivers to running backs.
Everyone's a wide back now. Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's using hyperbole, but they have too many other places where they need to keep some depth. And the same is true for the cornerback room. And then the secondary as a whole. That's another place where they tend to have injuries befall them throughout the season. And they've already had injuries befall them in the last month of training camp. So they're going to need to keep a lot of depth there. They just don't have room for 3 quarterbacks. So I do not think they're going to keep 3 quarterbacks. It was a very long and a little bit dark way to answer your question.
I agree. They can't.
There's only so many people you can keep at so many positions. And Shanahan talks about this every year when they cut down to 53. He's like, there's so many things that you have to keep in mind. And that's the really hard part of the business. And I will say, from the perspective of someone who is there every day at practice every day, it's weird and a little bit sad in that first practice after they've cut down the roster, because you've spent like a month or so with almost 100 guys on the field, and then it's like half as many. And there is kind of like a little, that's sad. And I think not to get like on a soapbox and be like really like, sappy
get up
here.
there.
And be savvy here, but I think we also forget, like, when people get waived and people get released and people get cut, like that's like the rest of us getting fired. And it's hard and it's sad. So it's kind of the tough part, but I always find that first practice, like a little bit like, oh, that's kind of just sad.
And especially for the Niners this year, because like I joked about this on the internet, but you follow, Niners fans and stuff on Twitter, and the way people are talking about some players on this roster, it's like people are trying to build a 78-man roster.
Right.
And I think that's a testament to the front office and what they've built with their 90 and now 85. And then as of Tuesday, 80-man roster. It's like, they just have a lot of NFL like caliber players, like quality NFL depth players. Some of those guys are going to have to get cut. I think they have more elsewhere, but yeah, right. Yeah. They're going to, they'll find work, or they'll come back on the practice squad or whatever it is. But I think when it comes to, it's a classic preseason thing. This happens every year. It's usually like one guy, and the Niners have 4 or 5 guys this year where it's like, man, that guy's kicking but probably not a roster spot for him. Like there's not.
And when I was in the Candlestick Chronicles after the draft, thanks for having me on so much, by the way. I really want to thank you so much. But when you and I were on and we talked about it after the draft, and we talked about how this roster also was pretty much set going into the season. It's not like there were so many holes and so many places left on this roster. So, I think for a lot of guys, they probably looked at the opportunity as an opportunity to showcase their skills to someone else in the league, knowing that they're not going to be on this one. So we've taken a lot of tangents on this podcast, but you know what? I like it.
I love a tangent.
A tangent, covering a lot of ground, and I appreciate that. Let me ask you this, Kyle Madson. Of these 4 guys or 5 guys that people are building up on Twitter for their 78-man roster, is there anybody that you actually think makes this team and has an impact?
The one, there's a couple that jump out. And okay, so Jason Poe, offensive lineman, undrafted from Mercer. The Niners don't have a lot of depth at guard.
Correct.
And he's been okay when he's been in these preseason games. But he's one that, like, Is their depth at guard great? No. Could you conceivably see him making it? Yeah. But at the same time, he's playing like at the end of preseason games.
Right.
So he should be at least holding his own. And I think that's what he's done for the most part. Is that a player that it's like, oh man, make him a starter? No, at least not right now. So he's one, but Jordan Mason is the other one, the undrafted running back from Georgia Tech. But he had that one really nice, I think it's 17-yard run against the Vikings where he broke a couple tackles. He looks decisive and explosive. But like Corey Sheets comes to mind, this guy that just dominated for the Niners in the preseason as a running back and then just never really did anything in the league. We see this time and time again. And so I could conceivably see Jordan Mason and the Niners looking at that and going, well, he ran better than Trey Sermon, and we're going to keep an extra running back, and he's the extra running back that we're keeping. I could see that being the case, but I could also see them going, well, we're in kind of a roster crunch, so he's going to have to go, and he winds up on the practice squad because that's what happens in situations like this. So if I had to pick one, I think I would probably pick Mason just because that's one where I could really see them expanding their roster a little bit and maybe keeping an extra guy.
27 running backs. 27.
Yeah, they keep 27 instead of 26. I think he's the guy that gets on. So if I had to pick one of them, it would be Jordan Mason. Malik Turner's another one. I didn't think they'd keep 6 receivers, but I'm starting to think they will, especially after if he's creating turnovers on special teams. I think he sticks around.
Well, you brought up another thing that I want to put a pin in, actually. But you brought up a name that I do want to bring up. Well, you brought it up, so I want to discuss it further. And that is Trey Sermon. And as you tweeted, when Kyle Shanahan was asked about Trey Sermon's 5 carries for 8-yard performance on Saturday, was that correct? Do I have that number right in my head? He said it was about what he thought. So Trey Sermon becomes an interesting one. And I'm going to ask what might be considered a controversial question. Does Trey Sermon make this team?
So I'm putting out, spoiler alert, I'm putting out a 53-man projection after cuts come out.
Okay.
To 85 or to 80. And right now I don't have Sermon on it.
I agree.
Because he's just not like, he just doesn't look like an NFL running back. He looks like somebody put it to me once that he looks like he plays football in Tim's. And I agree. Like he just kind of looks plodding and slow and indecisive. And like this offense is built on being decisive, finding the hole and getting north to south and going and breaking some tackles. He doesn't break tackles. He's not super fast. He's not like great vision and balance like you see with Frank Gore. Like Frank Gore wasn't very fast, but he had great vision, great balance, and could break some tackles. Trey, like, what is Trey Sermon good at? Like, what's he like? That's why he's on this team. I can't think of anything.
I agree.
So, I mean, 11 carries for 19 yards. I know stats in the preseason aren't everything, but like, that means a little something.
Well, it means a little something when you were a high draft pick the year before. Your rookie season was a complete disappointment and, dare I say, kind of a disaster. And this was your opportunity. Training camp in the preseason was your opportunity to show them why they should keep you on this team after they did draft Ty Davis Price. You do have, I mean, I'm not necessarily saying Jordan Mason's going to make it or not. I'm just saying there are options at running back.
Sure.
And I just don't think he's shown anything. And you're not in an Aaron Banks situation where they need to keep you and they need to really hope you do well, or at least are serviceable. They need to hope you do fine. Let's go with that. They need to hope you do fine, and because they have other options. So I actually don't think that Trey Sermon makes this team as well.
Well, one of the things that makes, and just to kind of piggyback off that point you made, one of the things that makes a team like the Rams successful is they were willing to pull the plug on Todd Gurley. They were willing to pull the plug on Jared Goff and say, you know what, these were bad investments, so we're going to cut our losses and move on. If the 49ers don't think that Trey Sermon is an NFL caliber running back, then they have to just move on. Like the fact he was a 3rd round pick shouldn't matter. You can't just hold on to him and go, oh, well, fingers crossed, and just eat a roster spot because you took him in the 3rd round by mistake.
Right.
Like, or not by mistake, but you made a mistake in taking him in the 3rd round. Like that, like draft misses happen.
All
and
the time.
Maybe this just isn't the offense for him, or maybe there's, I don't know, a coaching point that they're not getting. I don't know what it is. Maybe he goes on and has a successful career, but I don't think that the Niners benefit from keeping him around just because he was a 3rd round pick. Like if he was a 7th round pick, there would be no question that he's just not going to make it.
I would say, in my opinion, either way, there's no question he's not going to make it. So that's that's my feeling. Unless something changes dramatically in the next week, like God forbid there's some terrible injury, but and
Shanahan's saying
it's about what Sunday, I thought.
Yeah, someone asked if there was more that he saw in rewatching the game. He said no, it's about what I thought, and then he's like, it was great that Trey could help us out by starting. It's like, help us, like that's his role, is to be like, hey, eat some preseason snaps.
Well, I think that is his role right now.
That's
I think
tough.
that's it. Yeah. So
yeah.
I don't think he starts. Starts. I don't think he gets on the team. He's definitely not starting.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he's going to make the team. So I'm sorry for him, but hopefully he'll go on to do something else or go somewhere else.
Yeah. Wish him the best for sure, but I just don't think it's in a 49ers uniform.
No, I don't think it is either. You brought up something that we don't have to, really delve into, but when you brought up Malik Turner and special teams, that was something else when looking at a 53-man roster that becomes important, because there are certain positions. It's like, okay, well, like an Ambry Thomas, for instance, who played when he played the first preseason game, played a lot of special teams. And so you look at him maybe next to someone else in that cornerback room that maybe is a better cornerback, but isn't so good on special teams. And then Ambry makes, not that I'm saying Ambry's not going to make the team, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just saying that's another thing that goes into it that I think sometimes fans and Twitter forget.
It's super. Emmanuel Mosley made the team as an undrafted rookie in 2018, or was on the team. Very short. He got hurt, I think, like 3 plays in, but he was on the team because he could play special teams like that. That kind of stuff very much matters.
And look at him today.
Look at him go.
Look at him getting back to practice today. CB2, just, yeah. So speaking of CBs, Kyle Shanahan said Sunday they expect to have Charvarius Ward back after the Houston game. So that's going to be very important for this team. Here's my last thing that I'm going to have you talk about for our House of Shanahan podcast, or Dragon Route. Is that what we call it? Dragon Route for this
House
podcast.
Of Shanahan works.
I like House of Shanahan. For our House of Shanahan podcast, who is your hot take to make the team?
Do I have one? I don't know. I have one.
You may not have one, and that's okay.
I don't know if let me consult here, because I think I was comparing notes with some friends, and I don't think I had anything crazy. I don't think I have anything on here that's really. I considered keeping a 4th tight end with Tyler Kroft instead of a 6th receiver, but that's a perfect example, actually, of Tyler Kroft might just not be very good, which is a thing, but that's an example of where I wound up with Malik Turner as the 6th receiver instead of Kroft because of special teams. Like, he can contribute on game days even if he's not playing on offense. So that's where that came from.
I don't think this is much of a hot take, but this is just I do not think Ross Dwelly makes his team. You brought up tight ends, and that's what I thought of it.
Oh, wow. Who do you think makes it over him? Tanner Hudson?
I think Tanner Hudson.
Wow.
I
like that take.
It's a take. I don't think it's hot. It might be warm. It might be lukewarm.
It's a good take.
It's a good take.
It's strong.
Yeah, that is a take that I have. I do not think that Ross Dwelly makes the team. I just personally haven't seen enough in training camp or the preseason that would make me think like, oh yeah, they're going to keep him on this team. And he's been on the team long enough that I feel like he should be playing better. And I feel bad saying it because I'm a nice person, but it's not show friends, it's show business. Totally. And I don't think Ross really makes his team.
The only
charge, but
you watch a lot more than I do. So I won't argue necessarily, but I will say
you can argue.
The fact that he can play fullback, basically operate as their backup fullback and as their tight end 3, I think helps his case because they cut Josh Hokett and he signed with the Cardinals. He'd been their practice squad second fullback if they need him. But Dwelly has played that spot. He played there in 2019. He played there last night. So if he does make it, I think that will play a role in the fact that he can kind of play multiple spots.
I agree with that. And I think it helps his case. Still don't think he makes the team.
Okay.
Standing by my take. But
I love that.
And if I'm wrong, that's good.
You had a strong take ready. I did not. Yeah.
That was a strong take. And listen, you are talking to someone who early on thought Sam Womack was going to be the starting nickel. So I'm not saying I know everything. I'm just saying like I know.
You and Beads hanging out on that island. You guys were both on Sammy Womack Island early. Very good.
We were having like a martini, or I guess a Mai Tai if you're on an island, hanging out, pina colada, and being like, cheers to Samuel Womack.
Yeah.
That was
now other people are hanging out on that island as well.
Well, but I haven't let them on. Sorry guys, this is our island. So maybe down the road you can join.
You can stay on Darquez Denard Island.
Yeah, or maybe you could take a 5th round draft pick and make him a starter, and then you could get your own island, and I don't have to go to that one. But this is our island. But you're welcome to visit anytime.
Okay, perfect.
You guys, and by you guys I mean Kyle, this has been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed having you on. Yeah. I was right. I couldn't have been more excited. And it was a great time.
It started to show as the pod has gone on. Yeah.
How excited I was?
Yeah.
That's fair. Again,
I was happy it came through.
I didn't want to overdo it to be too much. Sure. Kyle, please tell everybody where they can find you.
I write at NinersWire.com. You can find me at Twitter at Kyle A. Madson. That's Madson. Candlestick Chronicles podcast. Subscribe, rate, review. And I'm on 95.7 The Game after 49ers games. 95.7 FM on your radio dial or 95.7thegame.com.
The point is that there's pretty much nowhere you can't find Kyle.
Yeah, it's honestly like, if you don't like me, I'm sorry.
But how could anyone not like you? How's that?
Oof. Spend more time with me.
We are brought to you by FIVO. We are brought to you by Bet Online. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at Fangirl Sports Network and check out our new Fangirl Sports Network Believe merchandise. And with that, talk to everybody next time. Bye, all.